Okay, myself and Stephen Delaney here. I'm just going to have a little chat, an impromptu discussion. It's nothing too heavy. It's not even planned. We just said we'd have a chat and record it. It feels pretty much like we're on the brink, Stephen, doesn't it?
Yeah. All of the things that have been said that were dismissed 4 years ago are now widely accepted now. And I think we're becoming irrelevant nearly, Stephen, at this point.
100%. We've tried to talk like ham so much, haven't we? Like we've written countless articles, essays, tried to do podcasts, tried to inform people what was coming, and now it's more or less, it's very close to here now. So
I think we're in the middle of it, really. Like with COVID, a lot of people didn't realize when we were in the middle of it, when we were at the end of it, when we were at the start of it. There's going to be chaos between the Irish government and the UK government about the migration situation. I think as long as we, as a people, hold the level of animosity and intensity we have now for a very short period of time, I think the Irish government will put down the foot. If we get soft, the Irish government will get soft, and the UK government will walk all over us. So I just think we have to keep it up for a short period of time, and then I think we're out the back end. Of course, there's long-term effects of the migration that's happened already that we'll have to deal with societally. But I think if we close off this gap, or close off the tap of Northern Ireland, I think that's the main focus now of the battle, and that's the final battle, closing off that, and then migration is something that we've mastered. I think if we win that battle.
Do you not think though that with McEntee basically admitting, was it last week, that 80% were coming from the UK anyway? Like, is it not just a ruse? Is the Rwanda bill just is highlighting the Rwanda bill just a sideshow really for what was already happening?
I think Helen McEntee absolutely told the truth. I'm going to go out and say that I think Helen McEntee told the truth, and she wasn't meant to. I'm not sure, was it you I was talking to on the phone with about this, or who was I talking to? But essentially, a report would have had to land on her desk for her to say that. And that report, the existence of it, if it was proven to exist, then the Irish people are entitled to see that report through freedom of information. Mm-hmm. So I think the Taoiseach, or whoever, Micheál Martin, basically caught that before it got to public domain. I'm talking about the actual data that Helen McEntee panicked and said, because Helen McEntee is now throwing cat food at the back door to us. She's not supposed to, because we'll come back. So that's what's happening. The 80% figure now is out there. We're establishing that. We're taking that. It has come from the Minister Minister of Defence. So we take that now. Micheál Martin, that's not his department. We dismiss Micheál Martin. That's what I say, and I think that's real.
Minister for Justice, no.
Sorry, yeah, Minister for Justice. Yeah, that's my mistake.
Just no confusion.
Yeah, that's my mistake.
No, that happens.
So essentially, what this means, Steve, is that Helen McEntee has broken. We have broken her. She will now reveal a whole lot more going forward in order to maintain her position. Like she can't stay silent under Micheál Martin's orders. She's not in his party. He is not the Taoiseach. He is merely a coalition partner to her. This is her office, ministry. So she is the person with the power to say and disseminate the information from her department. This is why I take what Helen McEntee said so seriously. And dismiss Micheál Martin with his fucking hand rubbing. I don't have any faith in Helen McEntee, to tell the truth, but I believe when she comes out with a figure like that, she's in such a perilous position that she can't lie.
But she'd know it's of no benefit to her to give a figure like that, because that just shows that the situation is even far worse than we would have imagined, you know?
Yes, well, I heard somebody say that this is the crisis that Leo Varadkar was retiring ahead of, and I believe that to be the case. This battle between UK foreign ministries and
it's a phony war. It's sound like he's under so much pressure from his own population that it's like a little win for him that he can just say, "Oh look, well I've tried to do something here," and he actually said that the fact that they're coming in through the Irish border is proof the Rwanda bill is working. So
yeah, which goes to show that anybody that has had or has any sympathies for anyone within the British establishment has really, been let down and betrayed. And I'm talking like the Nigel Farages of the world. I'm talking about the head of UKIP now. I forget the guy's name, but he came out and said, "Yeah, let Ireland take these people. We can get rid of them to Ireland." Like, and anyone
they're bitter over Brexit, though. They're bitter over us insisting, well, not us, over occupational government insisting that there was no hard border in the north, and now that's coming back to bite them, and it's completely backfired on them. And now they're looking for the border in the Irish Sea. Which is
I think that's what we all should push for, Stephen, is sea border. Now this is where I think the dynamic of our movement is about to change, right? The migration in the south and the north is the biggest issue on people's minds at the minute, and it is now becoming a Northern Ireland border issue, right? Those two issues combined are very sensitive to the Irish people. Mm-hmm. And this is where people might realign themselves, and I hope that they will, with the struggle to take back the North.
This is really bad for Sinn Féin. This is really bad.
It's really bad, but it could be really good. Michelle Smith is, or Michelle O'Neill is, here's me throwing out names. Now, I wasn't fully ready for this podcast.
Me neither.
I was half asleep. Yeah. But let's just get right. Michelle O'Neill is the first minister of the North, or the prime minister, or whatever it is. She's the head honcho. She has to sign off on a lot of stuff that happens in the North. This is where Sinn Féin can say, hold on a second. We're not taking this shit from the Brits, right? This is what Sinn Féin is all about. This is the whole shtick of Sinn Féin for a long time. They're struggling in the polls. They're still ahead in the polls, obviously, but they're struggling to maintain their position, and they're drastically losing support because of immigration. There's no right. So we're back after a technical issue.
Yeah, so
look, there. So as I was saying, this is Sinn Féin's shtick that the Brits have no place interfering in Irish affairs. Well, the Brits are now flooding this country with immigrants in a very antagonistic way. This was actually referred to as a tactic of warfare back a few years ago. This is a geopolitical warfare tactic to flood other countries with migrants. And it was referred to loosely as migration as a weapon. Now, the Brits are worried about losing the North, right? So they can flood this country with people who don't care about that issue, right? And then they can offer them generous supports, and they will vote against the United Ireland if that's what the Brits wanted to do. This is what the government down south is doing to keep us in Europe. They're flooding Ireland with people who will vote pro-European to keep the benefits and to keep us within Europe. So this is what Sinn Féin has to do in the North to really prove that Sinn Féin is still Sinn Féin, right? They have to play hardball with the fucking Brits. Michelle O'Neill can stop people coming into the North. right? Sinn Féin are right now have the power to stop people coming into the north and establish, if not officially by paperwork, but by active measures, a sea border. A sea border must be established. Now, I was talking to a few people that are in the activist movement, fairly prominent in the activist movement, you could say, lightly, and talks are ongoing at the minute of a possible protest on the border, which would entail signs that call for a sea border. You know, that's the idea. I think that would be fantastic, you know. But we do need a sea border, and let's be honest, mass migration across the soft border of North and South Ireland is going to bring the soft border into
sharp focus anyway.
Well, it's going to threaten it. It's going to threaten the free movement of people on this island, because one side or the other is going to use that border as a bargaining chip to stop migration, which is why we need to shift that argument back to the sea border. That's what we all should be doing as Irish people. But what do you think on that, like?
But I think if we don't, we're just going to get them almost nearly certainly directly from Calais. Like, they're going to just come here. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Because if the Brits don't want them, they're not. Where are they going to go? Are they going to go to Rwanda, or are they going to go to Belfast and then skip down south? You know, it's a no-brainer.
If there was ever a time for a united Ireland, it's now. This has proven that we can't have this it's a back door, right, into they're treating Ireland like a dump. The Brits are treating this island like a fucking dump right now. And if we don't take away, the port and the airport from them, they're just going to flood us with the shit and the dirt of their countries. And they're not stopping them coming in from Calais. They will try to stop them, I think, with this Rwanda bill, as in, like a threat. This is like, the threat of being sent to Rwanda on a plane will stop them coming across on the boats. But the thousands upon thousands of them, much more than we could ever handle, that are already in the UK, if they flee to here, which is what they're being told to do, by the way. It's been advertised on all the media and, go to Ireland. Now, they might not be saying go to Ireland, but that's what this is saying. This is what if I was a migrant, I would say I'm going to Ireland.
Well, let's put our conspiracy theorist hats on for a minute, and let's imagine now for a second that they're all working together, right? The UK and the Irish government are all basically subsidiaries of the WEF.
Yeah.
Is it a possibility that the WEF see the destruction of Britain as basically a fait accompli, and now it's time? The Rwanda bill is just a mechanism to finish Ireland off. Is there an argument to say that?
Yes, absolutely. I think that it's no coincidence that the Migration Pact and the Rwanda bill happening at the same time, which creates effectively a lockstep situation of migration pointing towards Ireland the whole way across Europe, with no way out for these migrants because it's illegal. We can't send them away. It's illegal. That's an intentional mechanism, are we to believe and then accept that our government allowed us into that situation? Like the talks of the Rwanda bill have been going on for about 2 years now in the UK.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they still went ahead, and with this migration pact, I actually think as revenge we should opt out now immediately. Our opt out is always there, and even if it wasn't, just fucking opt out, just as a country.
Who's going to deal with that? This is the problem. Who's going to deal with it?
I think we've forced the government to do an awful lot, Steve, and they're only starting to move now. But now that they're moving, they're easier to move again and keep them moving. I just think mass fucking disruption of the migration system, which we have done and continue to do, is the way forward. You know, like every millionaire now that wants to fucking lick his finger and stick it in the air and see where the money is very worried of catching a crowd of 40 or 50 people at his doorstep, you know, and his name getting dragged through the dirt, like I've done in Irelandford, let's say, for instance, with the protest there. I fucking rightfully pinned the tail on the donkey of the family there that's doing it, as have everyone else around Ireland in their towns and villages to these people who have betrayed them.
Well, I think one of the real successes and one of the real reasons that the protest movement here in Ireland has been so successful is because people haven't. They've been trying to paint people as racist and far right, but people haven't gone after the migrants. They haven't gone after these people who these basically this elite NGO class of this whole liberal class basically who are holier than thou. They're using they're the more racist out of the lot because they're using these people as pawns in order to facilitate their agenda. And what's really, really, really pissing them off is the fact that the Irish people have copped onto that and they realise where the real threat is coming from and they protect the ones behind it rather than the pawns of it, shall we say. And
we have, yeah.
It's really, and the Irish people have been so restrained, and they deserve huge credit for being so restrained. They're being pushed down the dark road now because I think was it John Mooney of the Irish Times there on RTE. Now, to me, it's a sign of desperation. But he started to refer to people opposing mass migration as terrorists. You know.
Well, look at that person though. Look at his features. Look at his physique. Look at the type of individual he is.
Mm-hmm.
Ireland is done listening to those people, Stephen.
Yeah,
we're done listening to those people. Yeah. Fuck this shit now for a game of fucking a game of drafts. You know, I can't see anyone watching a lad like that stand up, put the chin out, and start wagging the finger. And I can't imagine them lads staying at the position of the food chain that they're in now for too much longer.
He's trying to convince. That's it. That's an appeal to Middle Ireland to please come back to the system, or else you'll be with the terrorists. You know, that's all it is. It's really what was it in The Simpsons? Old man shouts at clouds. Christian Murphy used that expression very well. Like nobody's listening to them anymore, and it's really a sign of desperation where they're just kind of. They're trying to convince the mass of the population that the people who have resisted this peacefully for 4 years, every onslaught that's come at them, they've stuck out the chest, put the shoulders back, and just said no. That's all they've done. That's all people have done. They've just said no. They haven't got violent. They haven't come here. We've all said things over the past 4 years that some of us probably ended up regretting, but we're all in a high pressure situation here. This is unprecedented what they've been trying to do. It's not us who have tried to change the country; it's them.
Yeah,
we're just saying no. We don't want you to change the country.
Yeah,
no. You're working off. They're working off these think tank white papers, like, and they think they can just implant this onto and impose this onto a nation that's existed for, millennia. You know, the Irish are the people who've been here for. I don't know how far it stretches back, but the amount that we've been through and we've survived, they're going to come along now and they think they can just draw a red X through all that. It doesn't work that way, and
no.
I think they're finding it out. They're finding it out the hard way that it doesn't work that way, and they're really worried and panicked, and they're trying to convince the lad down the street that his neighbour's a terrorist. It's a bit rich now. It's a bit ridiculous, to be honest with you. It's getting boring at this.
Remember how ridiculous it got during COVID when they described people who refused to.
Very, very polite, and she's looking at me like basically that I had 10 heads. Like she's making faces now like a child.
Do you know that stopped recording there for a few minutes, Stephen?
Oh, did it? Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say it to you there. I didn't want to interrupt you.
There's something dodgy happening on my end. But anyway, we'll rock with it anyway. We can.
Well, the point you were making there that we might have missed a little bit of the recording of there is that you attended a Social Democrats meeting, and it was more like a sermon.
Oh yeah.
Everyone come in and sit down, listen to us, and go home.
Yeah, that's
and,
what it was.
And dip your hand in the fucking blessed water at the door, and off you go.
And it was like, oh, Holly, your hair is lovely. That's basically that was the level of immaturity. And like, I went up to Rory Hearn, and I was very, very polite to him, and I said to him, like, Rory, can I have a chat with you for a minute? Like, he wouldn't let any questions off the floor. It was all handpicked people to ask questions. And I just thought I'd try my best to try break through. Like, I had no expectation that I was going to, but I said I'd try, and I tried to meet him on their level. And I said, look, I agree with a lot of what you're saying regarding social housing. I would be someone who would be kind of a centre left traditional person. I wouldn't, and the far right thing then was because we want to race back to the centre, because they're so far to the left that everybody left of everybody right of Trotsky is far right. That's just insanity that we're dealing with now in this country. And they'll still tell you that we have a conservative centre right government. That's how bonkers.
Oh yeah, they treat Fine Gael as if they're capitalist.
Oh, 100%. It's insane. It's insane what's going on.
They treat Fianna Fáil as if they're Archbishop McQuaid in disguise, and these people are pushing bills straight from the Communist Manifesto.
Well, this is what let me just finish my point on Rory Hearn. Right? I went up
and
I said, look, I agree with you in the need for social housing. I agree with you the need that it's to be affordable. I said, but you're ignoring the huge elephant in the room. I said, not one of these mentioned here tonight. I says, and he says, what's that now? And I says, migration. Come on. I says, come on. I says, come on, Rory. I says, you can't say that demand doesn't affect the supply. Oh, yeah, it's an issue, but it's not the main driver. I says, it is the main driver at the moment. I says, because the demand keeps going like this.
Yeah.
These people are coming in. Your mindset, your liberal mindset is open. Like that's what he said to me as well. He said, as somebody who has a socialist mindset, do you not think we're all one human family? And I says, yeah, but if we don't have a country, how can we help anybody? We have to look after what we have first. And then if by chance we're able to help people, by all means, but we have a situation now where it's being abused, clearly being abused. But of course, he didn't want to entertain that. But I said, like, you cannot say that the fact that the demand keeps increasing all the time. What will that do? You have to then match that with the supply. So that is their real agenda, I believe, because what we're talking about was acquiring land. So there won't be a patch of grain left in this island. They'll be banging out CPOs to landowners to hold them. That's their agenda.
This mass migration is absolutely in part to drive the necessity for CPOs.
Yeah, 100%.
And most of the CPOs that are granted won't be used to house migrants. I really do feel, Steve, that these people, even like the migrants I'm talking about, are absolutely not going to be tolerated by this uptight left-wing bourgeoisie people that we have now, right? Because they're the benefits of having them here, when they get what they want off the back of this, these people are surplus to requirement. And they are going
to. They're being used. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, exactly. And we're intelligent enough to fucking dismantle this. Like we can fucking, get the data, who's committing the most crimes per head, what racial groups are doing it, what national groups are doing it. And if there is a fucking disparity, we want that solved immediately. We don't want these people coming in if they're breaking through these statistical barriers that we're not breaking through. We're fucking well behaved in general across the board within our own country because we understand our own culture. We know what not to say to who and when to say what to whoever. And these people don't. and this is where the shit starts, you know. I believe that the point I'm making there is I believe that as soon as they get something across the line like the 39th Amendment, and once they get these things, these little, I suppose, milestones, let's call them, constitutional milestones. Once they hit these milestones, the people that they use to get there are surplus to requirements. I don't even believe that these people are like genuinely communists in nature. I see this as a capitalist thing, Steve.
Well,
like
it's like it's a technocratic, like he's coming out of Maynooth University, all right. And Maynooth University, all of the research and development for the control grid, the 15-minute cities, the digital ideas, all the rest of it is all coming from that university.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that he is not privy to that, you know, that he doesn't understand that. And by the way, furthermore, like housing is an Irish issue. Why is he running as an MEP? None of it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, the reason he's running as an MEP, I believe, Stephen, is because they want to do a European-wide law on
right to a home.
Oh yeah. And they want to do a European-wide CPO scheme.
Mm-hmm.
They, you know, like, do you know the way they started building the roads here and slapping the signs up? This road was built by Europe.
Yeah.
Even though it's our fucking money, right?
Yeah.
You are absolutely going to see European housing schemes.
Yeah.
And do you remember I told you this about 2 years ago? Do you remember when we done the 39th Amendment fucking stuff, right? And we were warning people about this fucking property rights thing coming down the line, right?
Still there.
One of the do you remember when we went to Swords? Were you at the thing in Swords?
No, we didn't go.
Jimmy was there anyway, and there's a few people. We done a speech, we done a kind of a presentation in the pub, and I stood up and I said to people, you're going to have a European-wide social housing scheme. That's what they're aiming for now. I think we'll beat that, but that's what they're aiming for. And what they'll do to solve migration is they'll pick people up and drop them where they want them, and we'll effectively be in a breeding farm.
Yeah.
So you'll have these European project houses that our sovereign government won't be able to fucking interfere with whatsoever on Irish soil.
Yeah.
And we'll have people dumped in from Europe.
If people come onto an Italian island, they say, "Oh, there's a development that they're being built there in Ireland. Send them there."
Yeah. And but here's what they're going to do. They're going to house people by race. They're already doing it through our councils. We know this. This is why I hope a lot of us get into councils. Anyone that's running, I hope a lot of us get into councils, right?
A lot of damage is being done at council level.
Well, we'll get access to those lists and put them out there, you know, who's getting what and under what conditions. But, you know, can you imagine, like they really do want to get to the point where they will have the social credit system for housing, and you're going to be docked points in that system by virtue of the fact you were born Irish in Ireland.
Yeah.
You're far too common in Ireland, so you don't get a house there for 10 years.
You're too pale and stale.
But we'll give you one in fucking Romania.
Yeah.
You know,
you make everyone a refugee. That's the key to this. It's globalization and globalism. This new world order. It's an overused phrase, but it's the truth. This order that they want to create. It has no borders. It has no national identity. So why wouldn't you go to Romania? Into the forests of Transylvania? Why wouldn't you go there?
You will if you get broken down and if you start accepting what they're doing as normal, right? But you won't.
You're fascinated at the moment. Like this is all part of the process. It's just that the Irish are kicking up more than most places in the world, and they're not accepting it.
But if we can get that Peter Sutherland quote as mainstream as Micheál Martin's sovereignty quote, right? You know the quote I'm talking about, Steve, about we must destroy national homogeneity. National homogeneity.
It's the duty of the EU to facilitate the destruction of national identity. Yeah.
Yes, because they see, look, a nation's ability to vote itself out of Europe, right? Mm-hmm. If they can destroy that by, let's say, moving half of a nation across Europe, and then putting half of all the rest of the nations in your nation. You can't vote yourself out. And like, look at the situation in Georgia now, right? I'm not sure you're following this. It's 2014 Maidan Square, Ukraine. If you compare the images of that to what's happening in Georgia right now,
full of revolution.
Yeah, and they're using European flags. Georgia is not in Europe. They're using European flags at the front of riots, throwing rocks at the riot squad. We're being told we are scum when the riot squad comes in and batters our women and children in our own country. But in Georgia, European flag waving CIA, European Intelligence Agency cunts that are planted there to do this are throwing rocks at the riot squad of the nation of Georgia to push them into Europe.
So when the double standards don't matter, like all the lefties on Twitter are going like they've all seen the footage of the riot squad charging those women. With the women have the backs to them, and
yeah,
all to a man, they all see something different. This is why it's a religion. Like it's actually worse than a religion. It's some sort of fanaticism, or it's malice. Unless they know and they're just malicious, you know, that they want these people to be beaten. Like it's very strange what's going on in this country. How they actually can, what they're looking at the exact same footage as us, and they come up with a completely different scenario in their heads. Like
they are celebrating PSNI water cannons being brought across our border to attack Irish people.
Yeah,
that's where the left. That's where the left is in Ireland, right?
And then they're telling us the Brits are behind everything that we're doing. Like it's bonkers stuff. It's La La Land.
Yeah,
it's completely like Walter Mitty stuff, you know.
Well, what they're doing, Steve, is they're focusing on a very small handful of people who are, I would say, being a little bit too friendly with the Brits, and they're not looking at the rest of us who are saying, "Stop that," you know. That's not us. Stop it. But look, that's going to fix itself in time. I think we now need to lay the blame of migration firmly on the Brits. Now, I know it seems like we're letting the pedal off our government, right? But we need to energize anti-British hatred in this country. And I don't give a fuck what anyone says to me about incitement to hatred, right? Because when you call us terrorists, you're inciting people to hate us. Okay, so it's the shoe on the other foot now, and we're better at this than you. That's what I'd say to those Irish Times reporters that we've destroyed their careers. You know, we between a handful of us, we've destroyed their careers.
We're only pointing out the fact that they're lawyers, you know.
And we're talking very basic chess moves here, Steve, and we've destroyed them. Some of them can't actually put their name to articles anymore. They have to get other people.
Oh yeah, they're
their names to
articles. A lot of them now are. A lot of them. Do you ever notice now? A lot of the Irish Times articles there's no. They're like AI generated. There's no actual journalist that would put their name to them. Like so, yeah. It's either they're co-written or there's no. What's the generic term that's put at the top of it? Or to use a term for it, I can't actually remember off the top of my head, but you'll see it in Irish Times articles that are online. There'll be the odd time there'll be no author. Like.
Yeah, some of the articles that contain, let's say, very litigious content about us, no author attributed, and they get away with that, you know. Yeah. And they talk about anonymous accounts. They talk about, like, I've never been anonymous online. I don't believe in that. I believe in standing over my words. I know you do too. So the Irish Times have no standards. It's just as simple as that. They have no standards.
No.
So when they come out with this stuff, you know, back to the point I was making, that when these people say we're terrorists and all, like, we've destroyed their careers, Stephen. I think
it's just bitterness, isn't it? It's a bit of bitterness creeping out there, I suppose.
But to go back to what I was saying there, I think we need to incite, right? And I'm going to say the words, I don't give a fuck. We need to incite hatred against the Brits. Yeah, I know, yeah. But
I want to clarify that.
we need to incite hatred of the British government, right?
Government,
Because
if you're going to do it, the British people have been hugely supportive to army movement. Let's say
yeah.
You
No,
know, you have to say to them.
well, look, there's a common struggle there.
Common struggle.
National groups being attacked, there is a common strugul.
Common
But I still will keep my distance. And what I'll say is that the British government now should be public enemy number one in the eyes of the Irish, right? Because the British, as a matter of policy, are using Ireland as a fucking slurry pit for their crap, for their bad decisions. And our government is so stupid they let them do it. So the Dáil Éireann is becoming the slut of Britain that will accept that 2 o'clock phone call in the morning and will hold the door open for them while they leave at 5 a.m. And never to be seen again for weeks. So yeah, well, that's what it is, and that's why we need to say, people north and south, Republicans, nationalists, socialists, Irish people, the Brits are fucking us now, and you might not have agreed fully with us on migration up until 10 minutes ago, but now you fucking better start, because our country, our island is now under attack as a matter of foreign policy of the Brits. This is what they need to get into their heads. PSNI water cannons are being used to target people who resist that policy.
And did you hear the reports? I don't know how accurate they are, so I wanted to say that the reports that PSNI officers have been used by the Garda, is that true?
There is an exchange partnership between An Garda Síochána and PSNI. I believe it's actually the same partnership that allowed guards to work in the north that were involved in that steak knife incident, right, at that tribunal, or that, the ongoing stuff. I also know for a fact that there is PSNI officers in the employment of An Garda Síochána, and I think they're allowed to do so for a period of 3 years maximum. So in other words, they're not allowed to come in and advance through the ranks, but they are allowed to come in. They're allowed to fill the battalions out.
So let me get this straight. The union is a British loyalist who probably has serious animosity towards the Irish people is allowed to stick on a uniform down here and bat in charges, basically.
Yeah. Also, Steve, it's to be said as well, in the north of Ireland, I believe all across Britain this is, members of secret societies are permitted to enter the force, whereas down south in An Garda Síochána they are not.
Yeah, that was so according to the out or not?
Yeah, right. But here's the loophole that the fucking cunts need to get in. So this is we possibly have, more than likely, Orange Order members now operating in the south of Ireland as officers of the peace at events, protests, let's say, where we are resisting migration, and the UK government has passed a policy of mass migration into Ireland. Okay, and we have Orange Order loyalist types down here enforcing that on our side.
And they're probably being whispered in their ears, it's for the king. They're doing it for the king.
Yeah, well, yeah. Look, it's very clear what's going on. These are components. When they break these things down into components and label them as something different each time, people can't see that what it is. But this, just to make it clear to people, there is a full circle here of British foreign policy to Ireland, of mass migration. Our government, which, as you know from the past, we've covered this, Steve, a bit as well, where British MI5 agents are operating in Dáil Éireann, and they never said who, right?
That was actually in a US newspaper.
That was in a US newspaper, right?
Mainstream US publication said that there was MI5 agents in Dáil Éireann. Like, that's just, it's bonkers.
Yeah. And let's put this full circle, right? Foreign policy to drive all the unwanted migrants to Ireland. Ireland locks the door behind them. Why, we don't know. And the British police force is brought south to work amongst us to enforce this. If I'm just going to say it now, if Republican socialists don't stand up to this, they're not worth a fag. They're not worth a fag, Steve, because they've stayed away from this for so long because of talking points like racism, because of talking points like ideology. We talked about how ideology is used to trap people.
It's a firewall. It forces people to reject facts if it doesn't fit into that idea. Like,
yeah,
it's a perfect example of what happened the other night. Migration wasn't even on the table because to question migration would be to question their religion, their ideology would be up in the air if migration even came into the conversation.
Yeah,
you know? It came into the conversation once.
Well, see, this is what happens when ideologies.
To condemn the people in Newtown Malkendi. Let's just be. That's when it came into the conversation.
I think so, but it came in Ross Gray, Steve. It came in other places. Like, we had a very miniature version of Ross Gray in Urlingford. Not many people know this. We didn't get this on camera, but we had a standoff with the guards. A fairly big one. They weren't riot squad; they were rank and file, but a sergeant was there, and we won because we had numbers.
Yeah.
Now, these things are going on now more regular. Whenever a town stands up, the fucking riot squad is there within an hour now. Within 2 hours or within a day, whatever. The things we've exposed there now, Steve, is that the British government has people on Irish soil enforcing this.
Agents of theirs.
On Irish soil enforcing this, right? This is why we need to push back hard. But the thing that they've trapped people who are afraid to actually get stuck in and deal with this, they've trapped socialists because socialists have talking points, let's say, that maybe me and you wouldn't agree with, but I do agree with a lot of talking points that they have.
Me too, but I'll never be afraid to question immigration for fear of being called a racist. Socialists will, you see, because it goes against we're all one family. Yeah, grand.
But that's universalism, you see, and
it would be a lovely thing. It would be a lovely thing if we could all, coexist together. But that's like it's largely a fairy tale, Small bits of migration, fine. On a small island like Ireland, this multicultural fancy that you have, it's not going to work. So
if a stranger rocks up to the village, we're always giving him the chance, Steve, right? A stranger, an outsider.
Yeah.
Outsiders plural is a bad thing, right? In any context. But the thing that they follow is universalism, right? And if there is socialists watching this, I'm going to just say this, right? They don't really agree with the person's name I'm going to mention because he took one side in the Civil War. They took the other. Yes. Now, he said, I don't care about any other ism other than nationalism.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that's not fascist. That's not socialist. That's not anything. He said, I don't give a fuck about any of it. I just give a fuck about my country and my people. And he founded Sinn Féin. And that went on to, do the business for us. They split, they went left and right, they went everywhere. But that fucking foundational principle of nationalism is what fucking saw us right. I would say that we've discussed something there now today, that if it doesn't get the hairs up on every Irishman's back, the fact that the Brits are here doing this, not doing it from the UK, they're here doing it, then we if that doesn't get the hair standing up, then you're probably not Irish. Something's wrong with you. I feel that way.
Yeah.
And they like to tell us we're not Irish. That's something that they like to do. And these are Trotskyites as well. They're not the tankies, as they call them. These are the internationalist globalists that don't care about nations, that think nations are just a nuisance. And that's not the tradition of this island. Never has.
Well, we have got a socialist tradition, James Connolly was a socialist, and they keep misrepresenting him. They keep quoting him. Yeah, he died under a tricolour. You know, he died for Ireland. He didn't die. He didn't die for a trade union. You know,
if you read a lot of Connolly, he this is someone who I actually kind of like the most out of all of them that fought back then. Connolly is the one that fucking resonates with me, right? Because he like some of the socialist principles that I agree with would be like, you know, social housing, fucking, you know, stand up for the worker, right? Stand up for the person who needs to get the next step for, you know, to get his family right, whatever. But what people don't realize is that Connolly actually said that European socialism was alien to him. He said that all these people were faddists and cranks.
Yeah.
That matters of sex, veganism, vaccinations, I believe he even said. He said matters such as these things have nothing to do with the cause of socialism. Nothing. And that the only thing that should be the cause of socialism is socialism. In other words, power to the people. Right? In a very loose way. He wasn't a full-blown Karl Marx split the family unit person. He was economically socialist,
like many of us.
Like many of us, right? And this is where some of these dissidents up the north will agree with us, Steve. They have the power to make things move, and it's now time for them to do that because it's getting out of hand now.
It's getting really worrying now. It's all coming to a head, and like just for people at home that might be watching it, that might be starting to twig what's going on. Like this has been warned about. This is like people who've sat in their hands are not innocent in this. If you've stayed quiet for the last 4 years, you're not innocent in this. Like this is you have helped bring this into manifestation through your silence. You know. What you don't try to stop when it's easier to stop, that will just turn into a monster further on down the road. And you know what you were afraid of when it wasn't really that scary, you're going to be terrified of. Things are about to kick off in a big way.
They are,
and we don't want that. I never wanted that. I've always tried to resist this government and this establishment as peacefully as I could. I've never ever, anybody that knows me, I've never been a violent person in my life yet. Now, for using words to resist is now terrorism. This is where we are. This is where we are.
When we resist with discussion and expression. But this is where they fear us the most, Steve, because at the minute it is a battle for the minds of the masses, where they want, like, you know, I think they've lost this battle already, by the way, but they wanted to try get the mass of the people to say, I'm not racist, therefore I must target these people who are not afraid to challenge racially sensitive fucking issues.
Yeah.
You know, like because something is racially sensitive, they want us to stand back.
Yeah.
You have no say. If it's racially sensitive, the minority takes preference. Whatever they say is gospel.
You can't critique an issue that's racially charged. You're not allowed to critique it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's racism.
Yeah.
You're just looking. Say you take Islam for instance. If you say, like, I don't believe Islam should grow in Ireland, which I'm a firm believer of that fact.
Yeah.
Does it mean I hate Muslim people? Absolutely not. I've worked with Muslim people. You know, we can all be interact with each other on a human level, but when ideology and systems come into the equation, when you have systems and you have, like, people on an individual level can be the most beautiful people in the world. Stick them into a system with an ideology. Like, take football teams as a prime example.
Yeah.
You know, that's the mob mentality in action. You fellas that live one side of the city to the other, They're the same people in the same city. They knock 7 bells out of each other because the fucking fella's kicking the ball around the pitch.
Well,
Can you imagine the level?
We do need conflict in society. This is the thing, Stephen. Conflict is a necessary part of natural selection, right? It just is. It's part of every species out there. You know, like domination, fucking eating the young, whatever it is. You know, like foxes or, you know, like there's things in the natural world that are horrible because they're part of natural selection, right? And culturally, different cultures handle that need to conflict differently. In Ireland, we've handled these things through religious debate, right? But Islam is not a religious debatable culture, right? To them, there is no debate. Whereas we debate with Protestants, or as we debate with pagans or atheists here, and we go down the pub and have a pint. These people will, the moment you say something in their presence about this stuff, they become fixated on you. They wish you harm, and they do harm to you then. You know, like these are, and this happens when they get in big numbers in any place, because they get what's known as positive reinforcement on the bad ideas that they have from all around them, and then bang, there you go. There's their extremism. We've seen it down in Killarney. Now, do you remember did you see this, Steve, where they threatened to blow up the train station in Killarney?
I did, yeah.
Right, so this actually has happened on Irish soil in Kerry, where they threatened to blow up the train station. Who knows why? But I remember about a year ago or 2 years ago, all the lads from Cork and Kerry protesting that place, right? That particular building, and there was a mass stabbing event in that building. And I'm nearly certain your man comes from that building. If he doesn't, he just comes from another one of these buildings. Who gives a fuck, right? But we protested those. And look what's happened. Mass stabbings, bomb threats. We're becoming Sweden again.
Well, oh, yeah, 100%. Like, these are all legitimate concerns. And the legitimate concerns are they're just being brushed off as racist. Like, you know, you can't do that. You can't keep ignoring reality. Like, I'm talking about the left. They're just ignoring the reality. You're racist, you're racist, you're racist. We're trying to open up the debate and say, look, you have to have proper vetting. Like, you cannot have this situation. No, you're racist, you're racist, you're racist. Where does that lead?
Yeah.
It's going to lead to conflict. Those who stifle debate and take people's voices, they're going to be the ones responsible for any repercussions that comes from this.
Well, what I said back to a chap there, he responded to a friend of mine on Facebook there about the stabbing. I think it was in Athlone or something. Not sure you're aware of that. There was a woman attacked in Athlone. 80-year-old woman attacked by a 50-year-old male. No description. But some fella piped up in the chat. Oh, there's a racist undertone here with this stuff. And I just commented in, your apathy, your lack of fucking concern for the things that are being openly discussed in front of you is what's making you the enemy amongst your own. We will all turn on you soon. Like I'm against you already, kind of thing. I can't remember exactly what I said, but your apathy is going to lead to you being treated like a leper amongst your own. I think that's about what I said, and that's what's going to happen to them, Steve. We're going to identify this apathy trait in people as a society going forward much easier now, and we're going to take severe action against them.
It's just such a shame though that's coming to this. It's really upsetting that we're going to have to go through this level of trauma in order to come out the other side. And like, people are afraid to analyze things because for fear of being labelled by a fucking ideologue who doesn't have any fucking clue about the world, any notion of the way the world works.
Being labelled by people who wouldn't be able to beat you in a fight, people who wouldn't be able to beat you in a debate. These people wouldn't survive being left out in the wild for 2 days.
It's a different type of bullying, you know. It's a real fucking, like, that phrase, like, the meek have inherited the earth. How true is that? You know?
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But like I said to you, I described the physical characteristics of the Irish Times guy as being, an endemic of the type of people that we're listening to for far too long, and we're done listening to them.
But what's going on now though is like there's a kind of a pincer fucking movement happening. So the more we push back, the more they push us, and the more we push back, the more tyranny they call for. Because they need, because of their weak characteristics, they need a fucking daddy in any state to protect them from the strong. You know,
there's a scene in the Game of Thrones where Jaime Lannister fights Ned Stark, right? And they have this battle and they're evenly matched, but Ned Stark is kind of implied as being the better swordsman, but Jaime Lannister is like notoriously excellent, right? And Ned takes a stumble back, and one of Jaime's guards stabs Ned through the leg with a spear, and Jaime just puts his head down and he's like, for fuck's sake. And I think he kills that guard. I think he absolutely massacres the guard for taking away his glory, right? These people are not like Jaime Lannister.
No, there's no honor.
They will call for that guard to do damage to Ned so they can kill him, that they're the ones that took this man down, and I defeated this person.
It's Commodus. That's right. The Roman Emperor Commodus.
Is that what happened there in that story?
Well, the movie Gladiator is kind of loosely based. Like he's the same character as Marcus Aurelius' son, Commodus. But in the real story, what happened was Commodus decided to Rome was failing, and he decided to become a gladiator to kind of show he was the bravest. And he got this famous gladiator to train him, and by pure fluke, I think he won the fight. So then he thought this was the way forward. He was intoxicated by his name being called in the Colosseum, Commodus. But going forward, then what he done was he had all them fighting with blunt swords, and he was just vanquishing the whole lot of them. And that's basically what these people are. They're just a blunt sword. That need
Well, they want to blunt our swords, Steve. That's what
I mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
they want to blunt our swords. That's a better description of it.
Yeah, you take the wooden sword. I take the real sword. You weigh yourself down with huge amounts of armor, and
you beat me with the wooden sword, and it's still called the guards.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you beat me with the wooden sword, you are a terrorist.
Yeah. It's laughable at this stage.
That sword analogy is actually funny, Steve, because a mutual friend of ours, I won't say her name, right? But I'll tell you after, right? Because I don't know if this person would like to be mentioned or not, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
But she said to me, because she sent me a thing saying, "Oh, for fuck's sake, I just want this all to end," you know. And she said, "I just want to get to the point where we're forging swords. I just want to get to the point where we're forging swords. Can we get to that point, please? Can we fast forward to that point?" And that's funny that you kind of brought up the analogy there, because I do feel like we have drawn the swords. Now, we've drawn the sword a long time ago, Steve, I think. Psychologically.
Psychologically, yeah, absolutely.
And now we're starting to physically draw the sword. And I think we need to support that. I don't care if this is right or left wing in nature. I do care if it swings one way or the other, and it becomes the point of the whole thing becomes about the ideology. I think
a right wing. I put up a little article the other day, just a small brief article, that we have to try and get to the middle ground. A right wing tyranny is equally as bad. You know, there's no.
Well, I think there can be a tyranny of centrism as well, though, which I think that's what woke really is the tyranny of the centre, and afraid to step out of line in any direction whatsoever, and you'll be fucking crucified if you do. I don't mind a swing left or right, as long as these people are morally fucking right and they don't make the fucking movement or the movement of people towards victory about the ideology. Like, it's not a victory for right-wing people. It's not a victory for left-wing people, or a left-wing victory or a right-wing victory that we're after. We're after a victory for the Irish people.
Yeah, but we need honest, open discussion. We can't. You have to be able to critique things. You have to be able to talk about things, and it's the things that you can talk about that are often the truth. And if you're stifling that, and you have to actually suppress that with law, then you're living in a cocoon. You're living in a false reality, you know. And that's what's happened to these people now. I witnessed it the other night. The bridge will never be. The gap will never be bridged. It's so the political landscape now. The chasm is so fucking vast. Whereas if I went in, like you're trying to say, migration is a driver of the housing crisis. That's racist.
I watched the videos you sent me of that, Steve, and Rory absolutely knew who you were. I just want to tell you that again. I said that to you early, but Rory Hearn knew who you were. He read because your articles were put in under a lot of his content aggressively just to wind him up, right? But we also made memes of him about, you know, Saint Rory, patron saint of gaffs, with the communist halo, you know, the SDG halo, the WEF halo, should we say? You know, he knows who the fuck you are, if not who we are, you know, loosely, but he knows who you are because you destroyed him in that article, and that went around massively. So when you were standing there in front of him, and you were saying, Rory, do you not think migration is a factor? You know, are you being irresponsible by not saying migrate? These type of things. He was just smiling at you. He's like, look, I have to go. I'm wrecked. He said, I'm wrecked. Can you imagine that? I'm wrecked.
I'm only a fucking agent off the street. He's a tenured fucking professor, and
yeah.
he was put forward as a housing expert, given a full platform. By the way, he was sold to us as an independent housing expert out of Maynooth University. He even went on with a T-shirt that had housing rights now or something like that. You know.
Yeah.
He was on Joe.ie. He was on Virgin Media. He was on RTE. So then the Social Democrats decided to run him after getting all of that publicity and getting like they effectively RTA and the mainstream media here effectively campaigned for Rory Hearn.
Rory Hearn received free campaigning from the state in a manner that they could only do it in, because if he was a member of a political party, it would have been questioned.
But he was as well. He was a member of People Before Profit before.
Oh yeah, well before that. But People Before Profit put forward the amendment, right? For the 39th Amendment, not the one just gone now. The original 39th Amendment.
And that's still up for grabs, by the way.
Yeah, it's still there, right? But that's the Right to Housing Bill, or as Right to Housing Bill, right? Which would be a constitutional amendment, a referendum, in other words, to take away the private property rights of the citizen. So Rory Hearn was given free, absolute platform everywhere, anywhere he wanted, and they wanted him everywhere because he was going to be the golden child, the chosen one, of the right to housing movement, right? And I believe that right to housing bill is like the sword and the stone for these people. And he was going back to a King Arthur analogy. I know I did one recently and we discussed this. But if he was to be the one to draw private property rights from the stone and get rid of them, they're obviously going to do this for him. They're going to platform him. And right when they needed him then to transition into being a candidate, right? They had a look around and they said, what party is popular right now or getting popular? And the Social Democrats tick that box for them. Because
Hollymania. We have Hollymania.
Yeah, Hollymania, because People Before Profit are gone, right? Yeah. So they couldn't do him through Fianna Fáil because they'd be like, well, that doesn't make sense. He's openly communist. Doesn't make sense. They couldn't do him through Fine Gael because he spoke out against Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil so much. They couldn't put him through the Green Party because you can clearly tell that this man doesn't give a shit about exhaust fumes or whatever.
And he's not African.
Oh yeah, he's not African, yeah. And no, maybe he doesn't think Green Party is the best party. Maybe that, you know. But so Social Democrats are seen as the middle class champagne socialist party now, right? And Rory Hearn was just slipped in there. Now, lads, we have a new lad in class today. Beat Rory, you know. But really, they all knew Rory the whole time.
Factory floor Rory, huh?
Yeah. The man never lifted a shovel in his life.
Nails were beautiful, I have to say.
But he looked even less of a man when it was on a poor quality camera. RTE have their camera angles and the way that they can blow up people, and they change the screen ratios and make people's faces fatter and stuff. Rory Hearn is a very diminutive person and a very sly, slippery, serpentine person, because when you approached him, he knew exactly who you were, as I said already, and he just fucking shirked and fucking smiled. And what did he say to you, Steve? You're a very intelligent man.
Well, that was the initial exchange I had with him. He said, look, you're clearly a very intelligent fella. Safety of another discussion. It was, he couldn't walk off script. He couldn't walk off the cuff. And like when he's gone into RT and all these places, not one of them are mentioning migration as an issue with the housing crisis, because they're all ideologues as well.
Yeah.
You know, and they can't speak truthfully because it's racist. As you say, to mention migration is racist. To mention migration negatively in any way is considered racist. Now you can't talk about it, you know.
Like it's not even like a positive and negative thing. It's if they mention it at all, they make it seem like a problem, right? And then they are now, because they're political parties.
Then they're having to defend their ideological position, which they can't.
Yeah, which they can't, you know. But they're also responsible to fix that problem. You see, so it's not a problem. Any problem that they are seen as responsible to fix, the political class, is not a problem and doesn't get mentioned, because therefore we would have to do some work, you know, and there's big wheels moving, and our career depends on keeping those wheels moving. So they're not fucking touching it. But I suppose to drift slightly off of what Rory said, there's another party there which I thought Rory could have gone to, which was Labour, right?
They're dead.
They're dead, right? But did you see the promise Labour made, Steve?
Now go on.
1 million houses by 2030. No, sorry, 2025, I think.
1 million houses by 2025.
No, sorry, I'm wrong. No, I'm wrong. It was 2030. I'll go back and look at it, right? But
the magic date, 2030.
What's the 5 years in government if they get in now? Yeah, it'd be about 2029, 2030. Whenever it was, anyway, within 5 years, they promised 1 million houses, Steve. 1 million, right? Now that's no, I'm wrong. They said over 10 years. Right. And
so a 10-year plan, is that what you're saying?
Oh, it's something weird. Look, I'll have to get it up, but if you look it up, Ivana Bacik came out with this, right? And Labour came out with this at their fucking conference, right? And that was only to test the waters, to see where people would say, what the fuck? Because Fine Gael came out with a promise of 250,000 houses shortly after that. So, you know, let's just say this. 250,000 migrants have come in the last 2 years alone.
So a house for all of them.
Yeah. In the next fucking 5 to 10 years, they're going to build enough houses to house the amount of people that come in the last few days, basically. You know, like, you know, I'm being hyperbolic here, but
I'm being facetious, but it's not too exaggeratively.
Yeah. Like, how ridiculous is that? So like people are looking at this and they're saying, I'm talking regular people, Stephen, because we've put it in there so much now into the zeitgeist. They're looking at this going, that doesn't fucking make sense, and that's why I want migration stopped. There's a lot of reasons why people want migration stopped, but the housing supply, like, alone is enough of an argument, because a housing is, like, I will say housing is a basic need. I'm not going to say housing is a basic right, but I do think we do have a right to acquire a home. We have the right to acquire a home. We have the right to a livelihood, which is the means to acquire a home. And the government is tasked by the Constitution to manage the market right? We actually have an interventionist constitution. Some people think that this constitution is capitalist and fascist. It's not. It's an interventionist constitution. We have an anti-monopoly clause in our constitution, and in alongside that we also have I forget which article it is, by the way, but we have a clause in there that states that the market should not be allowed to run free at the detriment of the people. You know, so if housing prices are flying up, the government actually has an article,
to enable them to intervene.
They can pass laws against all this shit, right? So what they're doing is they're artificially inducing an anti-constitutional situation, which is too many people, not enough houses, right? And then they're going to break down the private property rights barrier in the Constitution, rather than saying we actually have the right to change the market, right? To allow people to afford homes. We can wipe the vultures out with legislation. We don't even need a constitutional change. Everyone in the Dáil apparently wants to stop the vultures. Sinn Féin have been on about it. Fine Gael are obviously the ones fucking helping them, but Fianna Fáil are the real dark horses with the vulture funds. They're the ones that, you know, like the likes of Haughey and Bertie Ahern and all opened. They opened the doors for these people.
Yeah.
And that's why you know, the likes of Rory Hearn, when he stands up and says the way to fix this problem is to get rid of private property rights. This is how you know this cunt is a treasonous bastard.
And to his credit now, in fairness to him, he didn't say it in so many words. It's just the way they're going with it is because they're only addressing the supply.
If he has right to housing written on his T-shirt.
Yeah, well, yeah, he didn't do that right now. So this is what I'm going to say. I'm deducing that due to the fact that they're ignoring the demand and they're only focusing on the supply. So if they're only focusing on the supply, they can never. Actually, one guy actually stood up. He's a councillor from Nice. He said, "One question I have here, Rory, like, you know, we're building houses. Will we ever catch up, Rory? Will we, Sawyer? Will we ever catch up? You know?"
Yeah.
And I'm looking at these people and I'm saying, "What the fuck am I witnessing here?" Like, and I actually had him by the short and curlies because I trapped him on one of his own issues. I said, like, Sligo is your constituency for where you're running in Europe.
Yeah.
So for your constituency is the same as John Waters' constituency. It spans the whole northern half of the country. So in Sligo, it says you have Brava Capital have basically land banked a whole block of apartments in Belmullen Court, and that was student accommodation. The students were ringing up radio stations and all crying because they couldn't get their college place because they didn't know where to stay. Here's a vulture fund who you were against. You gave a sub story about student accommodation about 10 minutes ago. Here's where the migration issue does affect the housing issue directly, because you have a foreign UK investment firm who are land banking property, a group of properties, a whole residential block of apartments. They're land banking that because they're holding now for the 12 months so they can get the IPs in there.
And I've heard that when they leave it empty like that there is grants available to them. They're incentivized to do this for certain reasons, and I have to look back into it again, Steve.
The profits they're making from the international protection is far more than they make off the students. So yeah, it's basically profiteering. So these socialists are facilitating the worst form of capitalism.
They are, but I actually don't think that these are genuine socialists.
No, they're not. But what I'm saying is they're claiming to be.
Yeah.
So that's what I said to you. I said to them at the meeting actually. I said, "You're not socialists and you're not Democrats."
No, they're corporatists. These are actually far right. Like this is corporatism. It is. The NGO sector. The NGO sector is a corporate thing.
Yeah.
And they're trying to dominate Irish politics.
But the European federalists really is what they are.
Yeah.
They like, But he couldn't visualize a scenario. I tackled him about the Europe issue. He couldn't get a scenario into his head where Ireland is not part of Europe. Like, you know, they have no view of Ireland as a standalone entity. These people, the gravy's coming from Europe. Keep the gravy coming.
They don't genuinely want to solve the housing crisis, and I'm going to prove it to you, right? If they did, they would have thought long and hard about this crisis, and they would have investigated all the multiple avenues of solution, right? So really, they would have looked at very minimum, the possibility of building houses to catch up with demand, right? Which is what that councillor said. Will we ever catch up? Because they won't address migration. Migration is not a problem. So under their system of belief, they believe they can catch up, right? And let's just put that on the table. If anything else is said, they're full of shit. We know they're full of shit anyway. But let's just say they're going to try catch up. That also means that mortgage approval, right, has to catch up.
Yeah.
That also means that the salaries of the people looking for these houses has to catch up, and none of these people are going to do that. Do you think Rory Hearn even thought once about how many more mortgages per year that need to be approved is required for this to happen?
No, because it's an ideologue. You know,
yeah.
They live in their own fictional reality where, you know, he has all the data and statistics in his own narrow band of where he's looking at. Like, his confirmation bias has him looking at a certain level of parameters and data and statistics, and he's working off that.
Yeah.
I must read that book, Gaffs. I'd love to see what.
I don't think this man has done an ounce of research, Steve. Have you ever watched the A-Team?
Yeah.
There's a character in the A-Team called Face.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And his job is to smarm and charm his way past doors, past people, and to get the team where they need to go.
Yeah.
What the Face is saying that he's doing is not what he's doing at all. He lies about his job, his past, everything. He lies about things he's ever done just to get B.A. Baracus out the back to fucking kick a door off a hinge and steal a safe. Right? This is the fucking crack with Rory Hearn. He is Face. He is a Face, and that's it. That's all he is. Fucking no more to him than a sheet of paper.
He's Face and Cairns' hair.
Yeah. We should do up an A-Team poster of them.
I went up to her and I says to her, it says, Deputy Cairns, it says, do you not see, like, you've completely ignored migration, do you not see how that would be an issue? And this is what she done.
Yeah, that's the face she makes for everything.
That's what she done.
Yeah.
The face she made to Ben Scadden that time.
Yeah.
I thought she done quite well to her credit against Ben Scadden. Miraculously. I don't know how, because there's nothing there.
You throw enough darts at the dartboard, Steve.
Exactly. She got lucky. But my God, there's nothing going on there. Nothing.
No.
I think
her job is to pretend that everything anybody says that is not with the agenda is ludicrous, mental. You know, like she basically pulls a face like someone after taking yokes in the 90s at a rave when she gets asked a basic question.
I think we're coming up to near the end. Have a last word. Where do you think it's going? Where are we going now in this mental fucking nightmare that we're living inside? What's next? Where are we going to get out of it?
Have you ever seen two dogs barking through a gate at each other?
Yeah.
That's what we're going. That's where we're going. The people versus the government. And it's going to be for a long time. It's going to be for next year of intense battles in towns and villages as the UK dumps their shit here. This is why we need to get this sea border idea online. You know.
And we need to start seeing in the minds of the population that we can't continue with Europe. We have to get out. As simple as that. It'll be hugely painful. It's going to be painful either way. But at least we be masters of our own destiny. The only thing is, like, I just hope now I wish all the new candidates the best, but let's just be careful how that we don't correct it too far. We need to restore balance. We can't fucking like a lot would be fixed by just making the social welfare less generous. A lot would be fixed by that. An awful lot.
Turn down the tap to a trickle, like what they did with the Ukrainians.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
38 euro a week, and give them 90 days of this is what they're doing with the Ukrainians now. 90 days of lodgings and 38 euro a week, and after the 90 days you're cut off. And what you'll see is all these North Africans, Sub-Saharan Africans, Middle Easterns, and Eastern Europeans. This is what they'll do. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, it's it's not going to require an awful lot to fix, but if they don't,
that's how we defend ourselves, Steve. What you said there is how we defend ourselves. We campaign on that. Cut them down.
Yeah. It's time for a sensible discussion because it's going to only go one way, and nobody wants to see violence. I don't want to fucking see violence. I've been campaigning against it for fucking 4 years.
Yeah. I don't want to see it either. I fucking hate I hate the idea that our peaceful country has been turned into this shit.
Oh yeah, but it's not because of the far right. It's because of these ideologues that are convinced that not only can we feed the world, but we can feed the world and then leave our own people to fucking live off scraps while we feed the world.
It's like your father telling you that there's no snacks in the press and that you'll have to go hungry for the night.
Given to the neighbour's fucking child.
Yeah, and the neighbour's child is going around with a lollipop and a pack of crisps that your father gave him, or something like that.
That's it. That's essentially what's going on.
Xenophilia is the term, and I'll always use this term everywhere I go. I'll call out anyone that does this fawning over foreigners thing. Xenophiles. You're a xenophile. If you fawn over foreigners more than your own, you're a xenophile. And you're dangerous to the country. Simple.
And that's not to. I want to always stress though. That's not to say that we start fucking, being hostile to the migrants that are living here. Like there is genuinely decent people living here for a long, long time who've been fucking. There is doctors and engineers, real doctors and engineers.
I'll tell you a story, right? Now, I personally don't care if they work or if they don't, right? I don't think the measure of a person being Irish or being welcome to Ireland is the fact that they work for the man and become a capitalist.
Yeah, no.
Right? I don't care about that. That's not the measure of a man. A man's demeanor, right? Like a hobo that is pleasant adds more to society than an ignorant millionaire or a bad millionaire, a bad-mannered millionaire, right? But I'll tell you this story before we end. People probably think I have an awful chip on my shoulder with foreigners, and I just don't, right? But I do have the chip with the system doing this.
The system doing it.
Yeah. So this I think this guy said he was from the Czech Republic, but he came up to me. I had my fishing. I go fishing quite a lot, I had my fishing rod, my backpack, and I was smoking a few rollies at the time, when I was smoking. And he come up to me and said, can I please buy a rollie, a smoke from you? Can I please buy one of them from you? And I said, no, put your money in your pocket. But he thought I said, no, go away. And he was like, I said, no, I'll give you one, no problem. And I'll give you another one for your ear as well. I said, I'll give you two. I'll give you one, and there's one for your ear, right? And you keep your money. There's no problem. It's only a bit of tobacco. And we're chatting away, talking about fishing, and he was telling me all the crack. He kind of talked about nearly everything about fishing the way I would talk about it, and got on great. But the fella at the same time, he looked like he was a kind of down and out fella, like hobo, but he was pleasant and got on very well with him. And the thing I would say is that we shouldn't forget our Irish hospitality.
100%.
Through it all.
I totally agree.
We
don't want to ever get into a stage, although they're driving us towards this, where I hate another human being. I don't ever want to get to that stage.
I don't mind hating people, to be honest. You know,
I fucking hate is a very strong term. Like you can actually, you know,
in an Irish context, the word hate means
people who are coming here from elsewhere to try and actively change this country into fucking into the image that they want it to be.
Yeah.
Will never be welcome in my fucking eyes. Never.
And I have no problem saying I hate those people.
If you're fucking pink, blue, or orange, and you fucking come here and you want to share part of what the country I love and share part of our Irishness, yeah, grand. Like, don't come in and fucking start trying to antagonise because some NGO told you that the Irish are all racist. There's
a couple of, I agree with you there, right? But that's an open door too, right? So there's a couple of these new lefties on Twitter, these people that were never seen before, now they're suddenly left-wing talking heads on Twitter, right? And one of the things they're doing now is they're arguing with this guy called Rene. He's a Filipino Irish.
Filipino guy.
Yeah.
And he's Irish far right.
Yeah, right. But your man goes, sure, you're just a Filipino foreigner, like, you know, you've no business saying things here. Like the lefty said to him, right? And I just said, yeah, but Rene fucking gets us. Like, Rene is not trying to change us. And he's actually defending the ones of us that are trying to stand up for ourselves. So Rene is welcome, by the way, right? And then your man goes, well, why don't we have 10,000 Filipinos here then, right? And I said, listen, Rene is great and all, but if even if you cloned them, that we got 10,000 Renes, I said, we'd have to send 9,999 of them back because of national homogeneity. I said, no fucking way. And Rene had liked the comment, you know. So like that's my stance on it.
You have such flawed logic. They just keep fucking painting themselves into a corner. You know your man Paul Tuffy?
Yeah.
He drew a ring around the map of America and said country where you live, and then ring around the map of Ireland, country where I live. I bet you wouldn't draw that ring around Africa.
No.
You know.
But the funny thing is, Steve, mass migration killed the Native American Indian, right? And the Irish were part of that killing of the Native American Indian. And it wasn't the Native Irish here, it was the fucking faggots that flew the coop and went because they couldn't get land here. They wanted to go get land and the opportunity in America, right? And they were no different. The people say that the Irish traveled the world. Yeah, those Irish were no different than the scum that are coming in here now trying to take what we have. Because the Irish went somewhere else to take it. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. I'll say it. Look what happened to the Native American Indian. Look what's happening now in Australia, Steve.
Now, they want to get rid of all indigenous populations. That's because the indigenous population is the one that they have the connection left to the land, and they want to break that.
They have to break the connection of people. Yeah, that's an ongoing thing for hundreds of years, right?
The situation where they just have people from everywhere. Everyone's from everywhere, nobody's from anywhere. You know?
Yeah, exactly. No right of claim to anything, right?
Yeah.
But look, how will we finish on this, right? Australia at the minute has it up to their neck in Irish. They're sick of them. They're genuinely so sick of the Irish. They're thinking of passing laws to stop the amount of Irish coming in, right? And just Irish specifically. I think they've already done something like that. But like the Irish are just destroying the place. Like, you know, because the ones that left here, and some of my friends left here. But like, lads, if you're watching this, you know, you betrayed your country. Like, I'm saying it now, right? Because they fucked over there. They're drinking and having the crack in Australia. They could have done that here, right? They could have done that here. But they're over there now and they're destroying the Australian local culture. Because entire towns are taken over by Irish. You know, the Aboriginals and the natives of Australia, you know, the native people of Australia, haven't a fucking hope if there is layers of migrants competing for the culture of the place.
Especially the Aborigines, because they're down there. They're like the Irish traveller. They're down the bottom rung of the scale.
I wouldn't even boil it down that far. They're just like the native Irish, Steve. They are the native Australians. You know, as a general subgroup of human, right? They are the native Australians, right? And we're just adding to the fucking problem of them not having their country back, right? And
we're getting the taste of what they got. You know, that's all that's happening. We're just getting it later, and in a more modern, sophisticated way. Well, we're being whittled down, and we're being fucking replaced. And although that's a racist word as well, by the way, replaced. But you know, it's often the things that you're not allowed to say that are the truth.
Well, if everyone is the same and everyone, like, you know, like, sure, the Irish don't have any claim to Ireland over anyone else, and anyone can come in. If we're all the same, then why do they need to come in? Are the ones here not just as good?
There's just so many contradictory arguments that they're just full of shit, basically. And let's leave it at that. They're full of fucking shit.
Hashtag full of shit. We're not going anywhere. You know, the harder you push, the harder we push back.
Aaron go bra.
Aaron go bra.
Right, we leave it at that. We'll talk to you soon.
Adios.
Good luck.